From the W. Page Pitt School of Journalism and Mass Communications, your home for complete Marshall University news. You're watching MU Report.
Good afternoon and thanks for joining us for the spring edition of MU Report 2019. I'm Andor.
And I'm Madison Davis. We are student newscast of the W. Page Pitt School of Journalism and Mass Communications at Marshall University. We air this broadcast on West Virginia Public Broadcasting and on YouTube. Now, on to our top story. Marshall students who use ride-sharing are much more cautious after a South Carolina college student was murdered when she jumped into a predator's car. The student thought it was her Uber ride, but it wasn't. Police later arrested a man in connection with the student's death. Marshall students prepare to take their own precautions after the tragedy.
Without hesitation, millions of Americans use Uber and Lyft to get around every day, whether it's to go to work, out to eat, out to the bars, or even to the grocery store.
On spring break, and the only reason we took an Uber on spring break is because we'd been drinking on the beach, and I didn't want someone to risk their life or someone else's to drive us to dinner.
The ride-hailing companies offer services that can be cashless, quick, convenient, and sometimes cheaper than a traditional taxi.
Yeah, they gotta pay attention because people are gonna try to choose like the cheapest.
Still, the ride-sharing equation can go wrong, like in the case of the South Carolina college student who was recently killed after getting into a car she mistook for an Uber.
Yeah, I'd probably be more aware.
As shocking as it is, it's not the first rideshare horror story to occur this year. Some are even happening right here at home.
So I got in the Uber and I was supposed to be going to the Alpha Delta house, and they went the wrong way, and I was like, why are you going this way? And they were like, oh, the street's closed down. And I was like, okay, maybe there's a wreck, but I didn't really think about it. And then they kept going, and I was like, you're going the wrong way. They're like, no, the street really is closed down, I have to take this big detour. And I was like, oh, I don't think so.
The Uber website offers many tips on ways to stay safe. Within the app, you can see what the driver looks like, their name, the make and model of their car, and their license plate number.
It tells you your Uber driver's name, which we all knew, so ask them, hey, are you here for me? And they're going to be like, yes, and be like, what's your name?
Authorities suggest Googling the make and model of the car when it pulls up. Always ask, who are you here for? They should be able to tell you your name. If not, that's not your car.
And those safe tips for using a ride-sharing service may sound like a lot. Police say the most important thing to remember is that if something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. As the semester nears its end, most students are relieved to check several more classes off their list of grad requirements. For most Marshall students, though, it's time to plan for the fall. Registration is open, and that means many are trying to set their schedules now. Olivia Zarilla explains how students are preparing.
For some students, the end of a semester means they're one step closer to graduating and can switch their focus to summer break or their new internship. But for others, those final weeks of school can be filled with anxieties about what classes they need for the following semester and if they'll even be available.
You've got prereqs that aren't offered every semester, and then you've got the classes that require them being offered in the off semesters, but you still need those classes, so you'll have to take them later, which leads to you graduating later.
Many Marshall students agree that despite planning their class schedules ahead of time, meeting with advisors, and registering for classes as soon as registration opens, they often find their class requirements not being met for various reasons.
There have been times where I've registered at midnight and my Blackboard or whatever would crash on me and I have to restart, and then I'd have to beg teachers to allow me in their class, and some teachers would say no, and then I'd have to redo my entire schedule in order to get my classes fulfilled.
Being a biology major, it's really difficult because there's a lot of people and there's not as many available spots for the program that I'm in. So it was difficult for the past 4 years to get into some classes that I needed to take.
And while some students understand the difficulties that come with class registration and say their professors and advisors have their best interests in mind,
I think they understand how difficult it is for us students, so they try to help us out as much as possible, but sometimes it's just they can't really do anything about it.
Others say that in some instances, their registration was made more difficult by advisors who didn't want to try to fix a broken system.
Didn't know who I was, he wouldn't look into the information of what I needed, so I'd actually have to go to different teachers, have to go into their office hours and take up time that they could designate to their students, and they would actually have to help me.
Although students want a quick fix so they don't end up waiting in line at the registrar's office, many don't have a solution and have mixed feelings about the current method of prioritizing registration for seniors.
When you're just about to graduate, it makes sense that they are prioritized, but at the same time, like, it shouldn't be that way. Like, everyone should be a priority because we're all trying to further our education.
For students who have difficulty with registration, Marshall administration recommends using degree works and grad checks to ensure students aren't missing out on another class that could fulfill the same requirement.
Finding a job right after graduation has never been easy for any students, and it may be harder now than ever. That's why the annual Career Expo in Marshall is a great chance for students to start the search and get better prepared.
Spring semester has come to an end, and there is a list of students who are going to graduate this spring at Marshall University. Finding a job for many soon-to-be graduates has always been a big issue. That's why Career Expo, a place where students can look for full-time jobs and internships, is so crucial at the moment.
Sometimes it can be difficult to find a job right after you graduate, and this kind of allows you to have a face-to-face conversation with possible employers.
I've actually been approached by multiple people interested in my specific major especially, and a lot of them have been expressing interest, and I've even passed out a couple resumes as well.
Not only do students benefit from Marshall's Career Expo, but also employers. Over 90 employers were at Memorial Student Center to meet and talk with job seekers. They represented some of the biggest industries in the area, such as sales, engineering, healthcare, or marketing.
As an employee, I think it's great that you have an educated population that's coming in to look for jobs, ambitiously looking for jobs, and it's important to us as an employer, to invest in the resources of local universities.
Career Expo also gives students a place where they can safely make mistakes and recover. Students have a chance to have small talk with employers or preparing for interviews. Mistakes can be embarrassing, but learning that you can start fresh at the next recruiting table takes away some of the sting. Dozens of students with their resume from all majors gathered together at Memorial Student Center, hoping to figure out what their next chapter after graduating would be look like. And at a time when getting a job is too competing, going to one of these kind of events is an excellent opportunity for participants to gain more experiences as well as provide necessary skills for them in their future career. You are watching the Student Newscast MU Report. It is time for a short break, but we'll be right back.
The William Page Pitt School of Journalism and Mass Communications has been a part of Marshall University's history since 1926. Today, the school offers 7 degree programs including advertising, radio and television production, sports reporting, public relations, and broadcast, online, and print journalism. SOJMC prepares students for the opportunities and challenges of the industry. Professional-oriented courses as well as hands-on learning environments help students gather real-world experience before stepping out to their field of choice. And with a vast variety of student-run clubs and organizations, students always have the chance to better their skills. The W. Page Pitt School of Journalism and Mass Communications combines classroom and hands-on learning environments to provide students with the background necessary for future employment in the field of mass communications, and continues today to produce award-winning content through a variety of majors.
Welcome back to MU Report. I'm Ando.
And I'm Madison Davis. It's certainly true jobs are harder to come by, especially in West Virginia. But Huntington is home to a little-known project whose main goal is job growth and job creation, only not in traditional ways. As Derek Gilbert reports, this group wants West Virginia's future careers to be in the air instead of on the ground or under it.
The first things most people think of when they think of Huntington, West Virginia is the city's critical involvement in aerospace and other growing industries. Does that not sound quite right? Well, maybe not just yet, but the Robert C. Byrd Institute in downtown Huntington wants to make just that reality for Huntington, as well as for the rest of the state.
That history of metal fabrication businesses here, that applies good to working with aircraft. You think aircraft metal, aluminum, sheet metal, that kind of manipulating, machining work is a skill that's employed in the aerospace industry.
So how does an institute help equip an area to be better suited to host an industry? Well, RCBI does that in many ways, as well as doing handfuls of other things to help businesses out.
RCBI, we are here to help manufacturers and entrepreneurs realize their potential, grow, expand, create new jobs, create new products, get them to market, and help them with training, prototyping, all manner of services.
One of the Robert Seaboard Institute's major focal points is to help West Virginia businesses. One way it says it does that is by having a national presence.
We certainly focus on West Virginia, but we serve companies and entrepreneurs outside of West Virginia as well. We have training programs that are active in over 17 states. So we do have a national footprint.
One of the many ways RCBI supports both local and national businesses alike is by offering 3D printing services in a multitude of ways when developing new ideas.
So a lot of times you don't need mass production of something. You only need 6 of something. And that's where the 3D printing and the 3D manufacturing comes in, because you don't have to go to a full-scale facility in order to make that product. You can come to a facility like ours, rent some time on our 3D printers, take advantage of the design experts that we have, and make that product here.
RCBI hopes to help local businesses stand out not only on a national level, but perhaps even on a global one. With the aerospace industry still far from being fully developed, the Robert Seaboard Institute hopes to put Huntington in the forefront of one of the nation's most promising of its growing industries. Derek?
Let's end with some good news from her basketball. The Marshall men's team recently captured the CollegeInsider.com postseason tournament title. It was such an important game. Our special assignment reporter Spencer Dupuy has a recap.
The Marshall Thunder Herd men's basketball team defeated the Wisconsin Green Bay Phoenix 90-70 Thursday night in the Cam Henderson Center to give the Herd the CollegeInsider.com postseason tournament championship, its first postseason championship in over 72 years. The Thunder and Herd were led by senior guard C.J. Burks, who scored 28 points, had 7 rebounds and 6 assists, and was named the MVP of the championship game. After the contest, Burks explained his second half explosion as just taking what the Phoenix gave him.
Right, that's basically, basically my mentality. Whoever steps in front of me just can't guard me. So I just think that every time, my coaching staff and teammates, they all believe in me. So when I have a team like that and pushing me and things like that, it gives me a free will to just believe in myself. They give me the extra push that I need.
It took until midway through the second half for the Herd to really get going, as the 3-ball was not falling tonight, as the Herd went 0 for 8 from beyond the arc in the second half. But it was really the dominance going down low. Head coach Dan Antonio was really pleased about the way his players came out in the second half after a sluggish first half.
We talked at halftime. I said, we're not playing hard enough. This team's playing harder. They're getting loose balls. They're going to where the ball has to be. You got to play harder. And the mark of a good team is that they didn't point fingers. They took it on themselves, challenged themselves, and came out here and put on a great performance that second half.
From the grind of getting back into the game last July as the Thunder and Herd started practice in preparation for its Bahamas trip in August, Thunder and Herd then took a few weeks off, and then it started its preparations for the season, a season that culminated tonight with the 2019 CollegeInsider.com postseason tournament championship. The Thunder and Herd now have quite a few months off and lose the 4 seniors that were honored right at the end of the contest. From the Cam Henderson Center, Spencer Dupuy, MU Report.
That's all the time we have for this edition of MU Report. Our newscast content is generated by students in the W. Page Pitt School of Journalism and Mass Communications. MU Report is a television lab, and we're glad that you're watching. You can always catch this newscast on YouTube. And be sure to follow our reporters on Twitter and MU Report on Facebook. I'm Ando.
And I'm Madison Davis. Have a great day.